Blue skies, dark world. Meet the pilot. A tale of ambition, danger, and survival. Our story takes us deep into the Colombian underworld, a world ruled by the infamous Pablo Escobar. A place where danger lurks around every corner, and trust is a rare commodity. But instead of focusing on the kingpin himself, we're going to hear from a man who had a front row seat to the madness Escobar's personal pilot. Let's call him Miguel. Miguel's journey is one of transformation and survival. Miguel wasn't always a cog in the wheel of a billion-dollar drug empire. He started his life in the tranquil countryside, far removed from the chaos that would later engulf him. He grew up a simple farm boy, dreaming of soaring above the clouds. His aspirations were innocent, filled with the wonder of flight and the freedom it promised. Little did he know his dream would take him on a terrifying journey into the heart of the drug trade. A journey that would test his limits and reshape his destiny. Imagine, a young man, barely out of his teens, flying planes laden with millions of dollars worth of cocaine. Each flight a gamble with his life, each landing a sigh of relief. The fear, the adrenaline, the constant threat of capture or death. Miguel lived it all. This is his story. A story of survival against all odds in a world where one wrong move could mean the end.
From cornfields to cocaine, a pilot is born. Miguel's journey began like a scene from a movie. Picture a dusty airfield, the Colombian sun beating down. A young Miguel, eyes wide with awe, watches a small plane land. From that moment, he was hooked. Flying became his obsession. He worked odd jobs, saved every peso just to afford lessons. His talent was undeniable. Word got around. Soon, a lucrative offer landed at his feet, flying small, fast planes to destinations in the Caribbean. He thought it was a smuggling operation, and maybe it was at first, but the truth was far more sinister. He was working for Pablo Escobar. The money was too good to resist. He was in too deep.
Cocaine Express, flying high in the danger zone. Miguel's life became a blur of late-night flights, clandestine airstrips carved out of jungles, and the constant smell of aviation fuel and fear. He transported kilos of cocaine, sometimes millions in cash, always looking over his shoulder. The pressure was immense. One wrong move, one slip-up. And it wouldn't just be his life on the line, but also the lives of his family. Escobar's reach was long, his methods ruthless. But there was a thrill to it too, a sense of living on the edge that was addictive in its own way. He was living a double life, a dangerous game where the stakes were higher than he ever could have imagined. Close calls and crash landings, living on the edge. Danger was a constant companion. Once Miguel was forced to land on a deserted highway, the plane's engine sputtering, DEA agents hot on his tail. Another time, he dodged bullets fired by rival cartel members, his plane riddled with holes. He saw things that would make your blood run cold. He witnessed the brutal reality of Escobar's empire, the violence that underpinned the entire operation. But he kept flying, driven by a mix of fear and a strange sense of loyalty to the man who held his life in his hands. He knew the risks, knew the darkness that permeated the world he was now a part of. But he was trapped, a prisoner of the golden cage he'd flown himself into. Miami Vice, Colombian style, the glamour and the greed. Despite the danger, there were moments of surreal glamour. Miguel rubbed shoulders with cartel members, their pockets overflowing with cash. He saw firsthand the seductive allure of wealth, the way it could corrupt and destroy. He flew to parties in remote locations, mansions filled with beautiful people and mountains of cocaine. The hypocrisy was staggering. These people, high on their own supply, oblivious to the devastation their greed inflicted upon countless lives. He saw the human cost of the drug trade up close. The addicts, the families torn apart, the communities ravaged by violence. It was a heavy burden to carry, the knowledge that he was complicit in this destructive machine. Captive audience behind bars with Escobar's enemies. Miguel's luck couldn't last forever. He was arrested in a DEA raid, his plane seized, his life as he knew it over. He found himself thrown into a Colombian prison, a brutal, overcrowded hellhole where survival was a daily struggle. Ironically, he wasn't alone. The prison was filled with Escobar's enemies, rival drug lords, informants, anyone who dared to cross the cartel. Miguel was a valuable asset. Privy to Escobar's secrets, he was both protected and threatened, a pawn in a dangerous game. The experience changed him. The reality of his situation, the consequences of his choices hit him with full force. He saw the despair in the eyes of his fellow inmates, felt the weight of his own guilt. The escape artist, outsmarting the feds and the cartel. Life behind bars was a living nightmare, but it wouldn't hold Miguel for long. Escobar, ever resourceful, orchestrated a daring escape. One day, Miguel was simply gone, vanished from his cell without a trace. The escape was as audacious as it was improbable. Bribes were paid, guards were silenced, and Miguel slipped through the cracks, a testament to Escobar's power and reach. He was a free man, but his freedom came at a price. He was even more deeply indebted to Escobar, his life now entirely in the cartel's hands. He had a target on his back, hunted by the authorities and the cartel's enemies. Turning point. A crisis of conscience. Back in the air, Miguel's flights took on a different feel. The thrill was gone, replaced by a gnawing sense of dread. He couldn't shake the images of the prison, the faces of the people whose lives had been destroyed by the drug trade. One particular mission proved to be a turning point. He was ordered to transport a package, not drugs or money, but something far more sinister. He refused, his conscience finally rebelling against the horrors he'd witnessed. His defiance was an act of extraordinary courage, but it came at a price. Escobar was not a man who tolerated dissent. Miguel knew he had signed his own death warrant. He had to disappear, vanish completely. The price of redemption. Facing the music. Going into hiding meant abandoning everything he knew. He lived a life of shadows, constantly looking over his shoulder, haunted by his past. But he also knew he couldn't outrun his sins forever. He made contact with the authorities, offering information on Escobar's operation in exchange for protection. His testimony proved invaluable, leading to numerous arrests and dismantling a significant portion of the cartel's network. Facing his past, confessing his crimes, was the hardest thing Miguel ever had to do, but it was also the first step towards redemption, a chance to atone for the harm he had caused. Scars of the cartel life after Escobar. Even after Escobar's reign of terror ended, Miguel's ordeal wasn't over. The shadow of the cartel loomed large, casting a dark pall over his every move. He lived with the constant threat of retaliation, the fear etched into every corner of his life. Every creak of the floorboard, every unexpected knock on the door sent shivers down his spine. He lost friends, family, his life forever altered by his association with the cartel. The funerals became a grim routine, each one a stark reminder of the cost of his past. He dedicated his life to speaking out against the drug trade, sharing his story with anyone who would listen. His voice became a beacon of hope, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. He became a voice for the voiceless, a stark reminder of the human cost of this brutal industry. His words resonated with many, offering solace to those who had lost loved ones to the violence. His story is a cautionary tale, a reminder that even in the darkest of worlds, redemption is possible. But it comes at a price. The path to redemption was fraught with challenges, but he walked it with unwavering determination. His scars, both physical and emotional, serve as a constant reminder of the choices he made and the path he was forced to take. They are a testament to his survival, a symbol of his journey from darkness to light.
The Human Cost: Reflections on a Life of Crime. This is a journey into the heart of darkness where choices are made and lives are forever altered. Miguel's story is a powerful testament to the seductive allure and ultimately destructive nature of the drug trade. From the outside, it may seem like a life of luxury and power, but beneath the surface lies a world of pain and regret. It's a story about choices and consequences, about the fine line between good and evil, about the resilience of the human spirit. Every decision Miguel made led him further down a path he could never have imagined, a path that tested his very soul. It's a story that forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves, about our own complicity in a system that profits from the suffering of others. We are all part of a larger narrative, one that often turns a blind eye to the suffering in our midst. It's a story that stays with you long after you've heard it, a reminder of the human cost of our insatiable appetite for drugs. The faces of those lost, the tears of those left behind, these are the true costs that we must reckon with. In the end, Miguel's story isn't just about cocaine and cartels. It's about redemption, forgiveness, and the enduring power of the human spirit. It's about finding the strength to change, to seek forgiveness, and to rebuild a life shattered by poor choices. It's a story that reminds us that even in the darkest of places, hope can still take flight. It teaches us that no matter how far one has fallen, there is always a chance for redemption, a chance to start anew.